Deep in a silent part of space, far away from busy star routes, the Xylar Union watched everything. They were powerful. They ruled many worlds and controlled advanced technology. Nothing moved in their space without them knowing. Their sensors were always active. Their machines never slept. And their enemies were already defeated long ago. So when something strange appeared on their scanners, it felt wrong. At first, it was just a small signal. Very weak. Very far. One of the junior officers noticed it. He thought it was a system error. But when he checked again, the signal was still there. He called his commander. The commander looked at the screen carefully. The signal was not from any known system. It did not match any ship design. It did not follow any known pattern. "Zoom in," the commander said. The image became clearer. And then, everyone in the room went silent. It was a ship. Only one ship. No fleet. No escort. Just one. The room filled with quiet whispers. "One ship," someone said softly. "That is nothing," another officer replied. But something felt strange. The ship was not sending any identification code. It was not asking for permission. It was not slowing down. It was simply moving forward. And it was moving very fast. Faster than anything they had ever seen before. The Xylar Union had the best technology in the galaxy. Their ships could travel faster than light. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their shields could stop entire fleets. But this ship, this one unknown ship, was faster. The commander felt a cold feeling in his chest. "Scan its power source," he ordered. The machines tried. Again and again. But they failed. The ship's energy could not be measured. It was too unstable, or too advanced. No one could tell. Another officer tried to track its path. But the system could not predict where it would go next. It was like the ship did not follow normal physics. Like it did not care about rules. That was when the room became tense. "Search the archives," the commander said. "Find anything similar." The AI system started scanning old records. Ancient files. Forgotten data. Hidden reports. For a few seconds, nothing came up. Then suddenly, a match appeared. Very old. Very incomplete. The file opened slowly. Only one word was clear. Earth. The commander stared at the screen. The room became completely silent. Some of the older officers looked at each other with fear in their eyes. They had heard stories. Old stories. Stories no one talked about anymore. Stories about a species that should not exist. A species that was weak. But refused to stay weak. A species that fought wars again and again. And never gave up. A species that turned pain into power. Humans. Most believed those stories were just myths. Old fear from the past. But now, that word was back. Earth. The unknown ship kept moving closer. No signals. No warnings. No fear. The Union tried to send a message. "This is Xylar Union space. Identify yourself." No reply. They tried again. "Unknown ship, stop immediately or you will be destroyed." Still nothing. The ship continued forward. Calm. Silent. Like it did not even notice them. Or worse. Like it did not care. The commander clenched his fist. "Prepare defense systems," he said. "Alert the fleet." The entire station went into high alert. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. Fleets began to move into position. But deep inside, something felt wrong. Very wrong. This was not normal. This was not how enemies acted. Enemies showed fear. Enemies tried to talk. Enemies tried to escape. But this ship did none of that. It simply came closer. And closer. And closer. Then suddenly, a signal came from the ship. Everyone froze. "Play it," the commander ordered. The message opened. Clear. Calm. Cold. "This is Earth Warship Aegis." The room felt heavy. No one spoke. No one moved. The voice continued. "You are in our path." A small pause. Then. "Do not interfere." The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. No threats. No anger. Just a simple warning. But somehow, that warning felt more dangerous than any weapon. The commander slowly looked at the screen. The ship was still moving. Still calm. Still unstoppable. And for the first time in many years, the Xylar Union felt something they had not felt in a long time. Fear. The control room stayed silent even after the message ended. No one moved for a few seconds. The words were simple, but they carried a strange weight. "This is just a trick," one officer finally said. "No single ship can threaten the Union." Some nodded. They wanted to believe that. The Xylar Union had faced many enemies before. They had destroyed fleets, crushed rebellions, and ruled without fear. One unknown ship could not change that. The commander stood still, thinking carefully. Then he spoke. "Send a response." A signal was sent. "You have entered restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." No reply came back. The human ship, Aegis, did not slow down. It did not change direction. It just kept moving. The commander's eyes became cold. "Deploy a strike group. 50 warships. Disable the target." The order was clear. Moments later, 50 advanced Xylar warships moved out. Their engines glowed as they jumped into formation. Each ship was powerful. Together, they could destroy a planet. The control room watched closely. On the main screen, the fleet surrounded the single human ship. It looked small. Alone. Almost harmless. "Target locked," an officer reported. "Fire on my command," the fleet leader said. But something strange happened. The human ship slowed down. Just a little. As if it had noticed them. As if it was waiting. The fleet hesitated for a moment. "Why did it slow down?" one officer asked. No one had an answer. "Do not wait," the commander ordered. "Attack." The fleet opened fire. Bright energy beams filled the dark space. Missiles followed. The attack was fast and powerful. Any normal ship would have been destroyed instantly. But the Aegis did not move. It did not dodge. It did not run. It simply stayed there. And then, the attacks hit. But instead of explosions, nothing happened. The energy beams disappeared as if they were absorbed. The missiles vanished before reaching the ship. The room went quiet again. "What just happened?" someone whispered. Before anyone could answer, the Aegis moved. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just a small shift. Then a single light appeared on its surface. A soft glow. Energy spike detected, an officer shouted. "Unknown weapon charging." The commander leaned forward. "Defensive formation. Now." But it was already too late. The human ship fired. There was no loud sound. No bright explosion. Just a pulse. A wave of energy moved across space. It touched the first line of Xylar ships. And then, They were gone. Not damaged. Not broken. Gone. Completely erased. The control room filled with shock. 10 ships lost, an officer shouted. No debris. No signal. Nothing. Panic started to spread. Return fire, the fleet leader ordered. The remaining ships attacked again, this time with everything they had. Stronger weapons. Faster missiles. Advanced systems. But it did not matter. The Aegis moved again. Another pulse. Another silent wave. More ships disappeared. 20 more, gone. The fleet tried to retreat. Fall back. Fall back, the leader shouted. But the human ship was faster. Much faster. It appeared in front of them. Blocking their path. Like it had always been there. A third pulse was released. The rest of the fleet vanished. In seconds, 50 warships were gone. No explosion. No survivors. No trace. The battlefield became empty. Only one ship remained. The Aegis. Calm. Silent. Untouched. In the control room, no one spoke. No one even breathed loudly. They had just lost 50 of their best warships. And they did not even understand how. This is impossible, one officer said, his voice shaking. The commander did not reply. He could not. His eyes were fixed on the screen. The human ship had already started moving again. Like nothing had happened. Like the battle was not even worth remembering. Track it, the commander said quietly. The system tried. But once again. It failed to predict its path. The ship moved freely. Without limits. Without fear. And then something worse happened. The system showed its direction. It was not leaving. It was not escaping. It was coming closer. Straight toward the heart of the Union. The commander felt a deep chill. This was no accident. This was no random ship. This was something else. Something dangerous. Something unstoppable. And for the first time, the Xylar Union understood their mistake. They had not attacked an enemy. They had provoked something far worse. And the human ship was still coming. The silence inside the Xylar command center felt heavier than before. No alarms. No voices. Just fear. 50 warships, gone in seconds. Not destroyed. Erased. The commander stood still, his mind racing. He knew one thing now, this was not a normal enemy. This was something far beyond their understanding. Open the archives, he said slowly. We need everything, about Earth. The system responded at once. Old data began to appear on the screen. Files that had not been opened in centuries. Reports marked as low priority. Records many believed were only myths. At first, the information looked simple. A small planet. A weak species. Divided nations. Constant wars. One officer spoke quietly, this does not match what we just saw. The commander nodded. Keep reading. More files appeared. Human history was filled with conflict. They fought each other for land. For power. For survival. Again and again. Even when they lost, they kept fighting. Even when they were weak, they adapted. Why would a species fight itself so much? An officer asked. Another replied, because they did not want to lose. The data continued. Humans improved their weapons. Their machines. Their strategies. They learned from every mistake. Every failure made them stronger. They were not the strongest, the commander said softly. But they were the most stubborn. Then the files changed. A new section opened. First contact incident. The room became still. The report was damaged. Many details were missing. But some parts were clear. Long ago, a small exploration fleet from the Xylar Union had discovered Earth. At that time, humans were still developing. Still divided. Still learning. The Union saw them as weak. Not a threat. Not important. Some officers in that mission decided to test their weapons. Just a small attack. Just an experiment. The file showed images. Cities burning. Skies filled with fire. Humans running, fighting, surviving. The room felt cold. No official report was made, the system said. Incident marked as insignificant. The commander closed his eyes for a moment. Insignificant, he repeated. But the next file told a different story. Years later, humans changed. Fast. Very fast. They united. Not because they wanted peace. But because they understood something important. They were not alone. And something out there had attacked them. They did not forget, the commander whispered. The data showed human progress. Their technology advanced rapidly. Their ships became stronger. Their weapons became smarter. But the most important change was their thinking. One line appeared on the screen. A translated human military rule. Never fight fair. Always win. The officers looked at each other. This is not a peaceful species, one said. No, the commander replied. This is a surviving species. More data loaded. Human ships were different. They were not built for defense. They were built for war. They used unpredictable systems. Strange energy sources. Weapons that did not follow normal science. That explains why we cannot scan them, an officer said. They do not follow rules, another added. The commander stared at the image of the Aegis. A single ship. But now it looked different. Not small. Not weak. But dangerous. Very dangerous. This is not just a ship, he said. This is a message. The room went quiet again. A message, an officer asked. The commander nodded slowly. If they wanted to destroy us, they would have sent a fleet. But they sent one ship. Why? No one answered. Because deep inside, they already knew. To show power. To send fear. To prove something. The system suddenly updated. New trajectory detected. All eyes turned to the screen. The path of the human ship appeared. It was clear. Direct. No changes. No hesitation. It was not wandering. It was not exploring. It had a destination. And that destination was the capital, one officer said in shock. The heart of the Xylar Union. The most protected place in their entire empire. The commander felt his chest tighten. They are coming for us, he said. The room filled with tension again. What should we do? Someone asked. The commander did not answer immediately. He kept looking at the screen. At the ship. At the past. At their mistake. Then he spoke. Prepare all defenses. Call every fleet. Activate planetary shields. This was no longer a test. No longer a small threat. This was something much bigger. Something they had created long ago. And now. It had returned. The human ship kept moving. Closer. 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 And this time. The Xylar Union was not watching with confidence. They were watching with fear. Because now they finally understood the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were not simple. Humans were patient. And when they came back, they came ready. The word spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, from one star system to the next, whispers of the lone Earth warship Aegis and its deadly efficiency echoed through every civilization. At first, it was just a rumor, a tale of an unknown ship that destroyed 50 of the most powerful warships without leaving a trace. But then, as the ship moved toward the heart of the Xylar Union, those whispers became more than just stories. They became fear. The Xylar Union had been the galaxy's dominant power for centuries. No one challenged them. No one even thought to. The Union controlled hundreds of worlds, and their fleets were the largest, most advanced, and most feared in all of space. For them, the galaxy was theirs to rule. But now, in the darkness of space, a single ship had appeared that changed everything. The Aegis had shown no signs of retreat. It wasn't escaping. It wasn't even negotiating. It was coming, relentless, without fear. And the Union had no answers. Their technology, their fleets, their power, nothing could stop it. The galaxy had never seen anything like this before. For the first time in years, leaders of other alien civilizations began to listen. They stopped ignoring the stories and started acting. In dark rooms, far away from the warships and the conflict, leaders gathered to discuss the new threat. Some thought it was a hoax. Others, like the Xylar Union, had already seen the evidence of its destruction. The Zorith hegemony, a ruthless empire that ruled 1,000 worlds, sent out messages. This is not just a threat to the Union, their leader declared. This is a threat to all of us. The Zelfar Coalition, a network of peaceful worlds united by their shared technology, convened a special council. If the Aegis is targeting the Union, how long until it comes for us, they asked. And even the Treth Collective, a species known for its massive fleets of bioengineered warships, began to worry. They had dealt with galactic conflicts before, but this was different. They had no weapons to fight against a ship that could erase their fleets with a single pulse. Fear, the one thing the galaxy had not felt in a long time, began to creep into every corner of space. The Aegis didn't care about the galaxy's politics. It didn't care about alliances, borders, or treaties. The human ship wasn't interested in negotiating with powerful empires. It wasn't interested in victory through force alone. It was sending a message. A warning. The message was clear: do not underestimate us. As the Aegis continued its steady path toward the Xylar Union's capital, the galaxy began to prepare in ways it never had before. Empires began organizing their fleets, not to fight the Aegis, but to protect their own systems. They weren't preparing for war, they were preparing for the worst. On the fringes of the galaxy, smaller civilizations, some never before involved in galactic affairs, began to shut their borders. Systems that had always welcomed trade and travelers now closed their gates, blocking off all contact with outsiders. Fear had spread so quickly that no one could trust anyone. No one could be sure if this was just the beginning. And as each hour passed, the Aegis moved closer to the heart of the Union. The Union, however, had no choice but to stand their ground. The message they had received was not one of peace. It was a warning, and it had only one goal: to show the Union that they had no control over the situation. The Xylar Union's leadership was in full emergency mode. Their top generals met with their best strategists. They activated every planetary shield. They moved their fleets into position, not to attack, but to defend their capital from a force they could not understand. The Aegis had no clear weaknesses, no known vulnerabilities. It had destroyed everything the Union had thrown at it, and now, it was headed straight for them. "What if it's not a battle?" one of the generals said quietly. "What if it's a message?" The commander of the Union's fleets had been silent for hours. He stared at the screen, watching the human ship approach. It moved without haste, without fear. Just moving. The calmness of it was what terrified him the most. There was no anger in its movements. No frustration. No desire for revenge. Just pure, unstoppable power. Prepare for impact, the commander said. If it is coming for us, we will show it what we can do. But even as he gave the order, he knew they were out of options. The Aegis was not a ship meant to fight, it was a ship meant to send a message. And now, the entire galaxy would listen. As the human warship neared the Union's capital, it became clear, this was not just about the Xylar Union. This was about something much larger. Humanity had arrived. And with their arrival, everything the galaxy thought it knew about strength, power, and survival was being challenged. The Aegis was not a ship. It was a declaration. And now, the galaxy was terrified. The Xylar Union's capital, a sprawling metropolis of gleaming towers and colossal structures, stood tall against the black expanse of space. Its defense systems, some of the most advanced the galaxy had ever known, were powered up and ready. Its fleets surrounded the planet, forming a perfect shield. Yet, in the shadow of the Aegis, everything seemed inadequate. The human warship Aegis had finally arrived, its massive form hovering just outside the planetary defense range. The Union's military leaders, their faces tense, stared at the screen as the ship remained unmoving, almost waiting. The eerie calm of the situation made their hearts beat faster, though the ship was far from a threat, at least not yet. Its presence alone was enough to make the capital tremble. For all their military might, the Xylar Union had never faced an opponent quite like this. The ship did not fire, did not speak, did not make any aggressive movements. It simply waited. In the war room, silence hung thick in the air. "What is it waiting for?" one officer finally asked. "Perhaps it has nothing to say," another replied. "Maybe it's waiting for us to make the first move." The commander stood at the head of the room, his expression unreadable. He had been silent for hours, absorbing everything they had learned about the Aegis and its unyielding path toward their capital. He knew something others in the room did not yet realize. This wasn't just about fighting. It wasn't even about winning or losing. This was a reckoning. A single message had been transmitted from the ship. No threats. No demands. Just a cold, direct transmission. "We are not here to conquer. We are here to remind you." The words echoed in the commander's mind. He looked up at the display of the ship. The Aegis had no weapon raised, no energy shields activated. There was no sign of hostility. And yet, the atmosphere in the war room was filled with the weight of inevitability. "Show the archives," the commander said in a low voice. The system hummed to life, pulling up long-forgotten records, ancient documents hidden in the deepest corners of the Union's military database. The officer on duty began scanning, sorting through thousands of files, some of which had not been accessed in centuries. The commander felt a strange sense of déjà vu. Then a match appeared in the archives. The file wasn't labeled as a war or conflict but instead as a first contact incident. The Union had encountered Earth long before humanity had developed interstellar travel. The details were sparse, the file old and weathered, but certain keywords stood out. Earth. Planetary attack. Devastation. The Union had attacked Earth long ago, in the early stages of their conquest. The file described how the Union, in their confidence and arrogance, had tested their weapons on a small, defenseless planet, Earth. The humans at that time were just a primitive species, unaware of the galaxy beyond their own world. They were weak, fractured, and divided by endless wars. The Xylar Union had underestimated them. They had come in with a full fleet, with the belief that one small planet was no match for their power. The results were brutal. Earth was devastated. Cities were destroyed. Millions of lives were lost. And when the Union had finished, they believed the planet had been wiped out, nothing more than an insignificant speck in the galaxy. But they were wrong. The humans did not surrender. They did not perish. They adapted. The archive flickered as the system pulled up data of human progress. The rise of Earth's technological prowess had been rapid. The humans had used the pain of their past as fuel. They had turned their despair into determination. Their military strategies became more advanced, their technologies more innovative. And their most powerful trait, their resolve to survive, had shaped them into something the Union had failed to recognize, a species that would never be defeated, no matter the odds. The humans, it seemed, had never forgotten. The commander felt his stomach tighten. He had read these reports before, but now, with the Aegis in front of him, the truth felt like a cold blade against his skin. The Aegis was not here for revenge. It was not here to destroy the galaxy. It was here to remind the Xylar Union of what they had done. And as much as they wished it were otherwise, the Union could not undo their past mistakes. A new message came through from the Aegis. This is Earth. We do not seek war, but we will not stand by as you forget. The commander's voice trembled, though he tried to control it. They came back for what we did to them. Not to conquer. Not to destroy. But to remind us that we can never forget what happened. The officers exchanged nervous glances. The entire galaxy was now on edge. If the humans were willing to fight for their past, their right to remember, then no one in the galaxy would be safe from the wrath of a species that had learned how to survive the worst horrors imaginable. The captain of the Aegis gave them a choice. You have two options, surrender, or face the consequences. The Union's military leaders met in urgent conference. The decision lay in their hands, but for the first time in history, they were faced with something they could not control. The Union had one last card to play, but it was clear that the Aegis was not here to be defeated by mere force. The human ship was a symbol of something much deeper, something no military might could ever match. It was a reminder. And now, every leader across the galaxy understood that the past could never be erased. The Aegis had come to show them the truth. The question remained, could they accept it? Or would they try to fight the inevitable? The choice was theirs.